Welcome to the Intellectual Hustle podcast. I am your host, T. Riggs, and my awesome guest today, she is so beautiful. Entrepreneur, counselor, hustler, activist. Oh my God, the conscious mind is overwhelming with me what she does with her clients. We are going to bring to the stage, welcome Miss Bridget Pritchton.
Pridgeon.
Princeton. Thank you for pronouncing that for me. I apologize, Miss Bridget.
Oh, no, no
However,
problem.
thank you so much for coming on the Intellectual Hustle podcast today. I have so many questions for you, but I'm not going to inundate you with all of them. But I will say, tell us about your business because I know your business is Conscious Led Design.
Yes, Conscious Led Design Group. We are a holistic interior design and wellness company. So we focus on the wellness and well being of the people who occupy the space. So we just don't design for beauty and aesthetics alone, we design for the whole person. We are a sustainable company focusing on eco friendly design. We offer color therapy, feng shui. All of those components that make up a overall holistic and wellness lifestyle. Mhm.
I love it. Now, tell me about the color design. How do you bridge the gap of the color design with the holistic
Okay, so
creativeness?
color therapy is a derivative of using psychology and the color. See, every color has an emotion that evokes from that color. Okay, so basically that is using the psychology added into interior design. So when you take let's just use the color green here because it's in the background. Green is a color that is a healing color. It's also a color that makes you think of nature. So green is a color that you would utilize when you're wanting to evoke healing in a space. You're wanting to change the atmosphere to bring in harmony into the space, and you want to have a more of a healing, calming feeling. It's like bringing the outdoors in. So that is the reason you would use green in a space. So we utilize color therapy in all of our designs that we do, whether residential or commercial. That is how we come up with our custom color palette, is by utilizing the colors that offer the emotions that people want to evoke in their space.
Oh, wow. That is so interesting. So tell me, how did you come up with the concept of bringing holistic with color therapy in
With
together?
interior design. Okay.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
actually, interior design for me is more than just design, in terms of, like I said earlier, for beauty alone. And for me, my background, actually, I have my degrees are in psychology. So I was already there, working in that field, with, studying people and their behaviors and their habits and so forth. And so now, I intertwine my background and experience in psychology with my passion for interior design. And as I started out, I didn't start out originally as a holistic interior designer. I started out as a traditional interior designer, just going totally on beauty and aesthetics alone. But as I grew in the field, I learned that it was so many people that I was attracting that was needing more than just a beautiful sofa, or my room, I need my bedroom done, and they just wanted to look pretty. I had people to come to me literally in design consults saying, I want to redesign my bedroom, and if I don't redesign it, I'm gonna divorce my husband. And I'm like, what are you
Oh,
talking about? Then I had one lady, she was like, hey, I just got laid off from corporate America. I've been there for 20 something years. I want to start vlogging at the time. And she was a beauty influencer. And so she wanted to start all of these, this new venture in terms of going into the vlogging world. And then she was like, and my son needs to be potty trained, and I'm going to divorce my husband. And so after I got a couple of people that was coming to me, A, for beauty, and then B, they were
yes.
having some type of emotional, mental, thing that was happening in their life, I started seeing a trend here. And I started noticing that these people need design, yes, but I cannot put paint on a wall that has cracks. I can't just cover it up.
Wow.
I just can't put
Wa-
lipstick on a pig and just leave it alone. You know what I'm saying? So I started seeing that what I was being driven to was deeper than just painting over a crack in the wall. So I had to go and dig deeper. And with my experience in education and psychology, I started thinking more about how people occupy their space, how they're living in their spaces, how they're working in their spaces in a commercial setting or a work setting. And I started seeing the correlation between what's going on in your physical environment as well as what's going on or your physical dwelling and what's going on in your interior. So to me, interior design is actually a play on words. You know, when we talk about we are your interior designers, we are actually redesigning your physical space, excuse me, your physical space, your dwelling, but we're also redesigning your interior here as well.
That is amazing. I love how you placed and you put the words paint over the crack of the wall.
Yes,
Oh my
yes.
God, that is so much within itself. When you get your clients, and as you say that you can't put paint over the crack of the wall, how long does it actually take you to crack the remaining of the crack? You just bust the crack open in order to get to interior designing, in order to help them holistically, consciously, and
Yes.
have their well balance.
Yes, because so literally as that's exactly what we do. We go into a space and we see that if there's a need, quote unquote, it's a crack, a crack in the foundation, we're tearing that thing down. We're not going to just, piddle paddle around it. We have to go in deep to figure out what is causing the crack, so to speak. What is the imbalance? What is the imbalance in the home? What is the imbalance in the person? What is the
Wow.
issue that, and then after that, once we're able to identify what the imbalance is in the home, whether it's clutter, what is the issue with hoarding, whether it's an issue with too many things or not enough things, because a lot of people even go all the way to the other extreme with minimalism, and that's also a trauma response. So sometimes we just have to literally be detectives, and we have to kind of look and read between the lines and really seek out answers and try to figure out exactly what is causing the imbalance first. And then after, even if it's multiple imbalances, say for instance you're a person that's dealing with a lot of illness or health issues, and you want us to redesign your home, but if we see that you are dealing with let's just use breathing issues as an example. A lot of people may have allergies or seasonal allergies, right? But a lot of people don't realize that a lot of lung issues are also a derivative of grief, because grief gets trapped in your lungs. So we are not only going to
Wow.
look into the fact that you're having breathing issues and to make sure that your bedroom and your home has good airflow, is free of toxins, is free of mold, but we're going to also address and see if there's anything that may be contributing to your lung issues or your breathing issues that may be from emotions, trapped emotions, maybe from trauma responses. So that's what we say when we say we go in and we kind of bust the wall open, because we really need to see
Yes.
exactly what's the root cause of your issues.
Wow, that is amazing. Oh, you do, honey, you do a lot. So tell me, how do you balance? Because I know some days you might not even feel like being bothered.
Oh yes, ma'am, a lot of days.
How do you balance all of everything, all of people's synergy that comes from them, and it's heavy and it's weighted? And then you got your life as well, because life be life and for real.
Yes, it be life and it be life. So one thing, when I learned that I was an empath, and empaths are people who literally are like walking sponges. We absorb other people's energy. But most empaths are in the healing sector as I am. And so once you learn who you are and you know who you are, then you learn different coping mechanisms to help you to keep yourself on an even keel. And so, as with me learning through the years how I receive information, how I absorb information and emotions from people, I had to learn my own mechanisms to help, or healing modalities that help me stay balanced. And one of them for me is grounding. I have to ground, and grounding, another word for grounding is earthing, where you're actually planting your feet or hands actually in the soil or grass or sand. And so what that does is that helps you to release negative energy out of your body. Okay.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's one of my main coping mechanisms to help me. So when I absorb everything like this, walking sponge, I'm able to ground. I'm also very into doing my detox baths. People don't give them enough credit. Using detox baths to also help to release, energy, negative energy. It helps to, of course, remove toxins out of your body. Anything that you're absorbing environmentally, or if you're absorbing it emotionally, that's another way that you're able to release those things. And then lastly is my journaling. I have to keep my gratitude journal to help me keep my mental state in hand, up to par, because again, we are absorbing, we are hearing all of other people's traumas and their, the circumstances and situations that they may be going through in their home or business. So we have to be able to use these different healing modalities to keep ourselves in alignment.
That is amazing. You talked about several things: the grounding, the detox bath, you
Hmm.
journaling. Because when a person doesn't do all these things, and most people don't, they don't
Yes.
do all those things, and that's why they hold all the toxics in and just
Yes.
go crazy.
Yes, yes, because that's a part of self-care. And here lately, you hear a lot of people talking about self-care, and people are talking about, oh, I gotta go get my nails done, I gotta get my hair done, get my feet done. But that's a difference. That's not necessarily self-care, that's more self-maintenance. Self-care is when you're focusing on the root. You're focusing on the mental state, the emotional body, the physical body. All of that is what self-care is about. So yes, it may feel good to get your nails done, and I like getting my nails and feet done as well, but I need to go deeper. I need to remove actual energy from my body. I need to transfer energy that I have, brought in. So, getting my feet done is not necessarily enough. It's exactly, especially with me absorbing so much at one time. So one thing is to learn the difference between the two. Getting your hair done and you look pretty, that's self-maintenance. But going deeper and journaling and being grateful and writing down 50 things that you're grateful for every day is going to help you better than looking in the mirror and saying, oh, my hair is nice. Because now your mind is in conducive to thinking about, healing and thinking about releasing, because now you're focused on something else that's deeper.
Absolutely. Now, Miss Bridget, let's step back for just one moment because I'm so interested in the holistic. Because, you know, I think a couple of years ago, I was about 10. I began to read about holisticness and people dealing into holistic. What happened in your life? What was that pivot turn in your life that you pivot and said, you know what? I'm not doing it this way anymore. Let me go, as you stated, the self-care, the self-awareness, the grounding, the journaling, the detox baths.
Got you. Okay, so literally, I was raised on a ranch with the horses, the chickens, all of it. So I already came from a background where we focused on growing our own food and living kind of off the land to a certain extent. However, as I got older, I lost a lot of those practices. I actually ran
Mm.
from it, to be to be honest. And so all of that has kind of been innately in me anyway, in terms of, you know, living off the land and growing your own food. But for me, the pivotal point was in 2016. I found out I had to have heart surgery at the December of 16. And then I had heart surgery in February of 17. And so had my surgery, was on my way to healing. And then 2 months later, my husband at 38 years old had a massive heart attack. And then he ended up having a stroke on the table. So I
Wow.
went from, at the time, being a stay-at-home mom, you know, and doing my business on the side. I went from, you know, having my husband being our sole provider, and, you know, I'm his helpmate. I'm over here, you know, keeping everything in alignment for him. And then all of a sudden, all my eggs in one basket, he have a massive heart attack and a stroke on the table. So, you know, my world is turned upside down. And
Right.
so during that time, he stayed at home with me from 8 months, having to learn how to walk, talk, turn over. You know, I used to have to strap him in the wheelchair because he lost his trunk ability. He would just slide on out. And so during that time, I realized that I was so busy going from being a stay-at-home mom and just handling the home front to now I gotta handle, oh, who is our mortgage company? I gotta pay all these bills. So during this time, I'm realizing that I am literally in survival mode. I am just going through the motions. I'm just, you know, being a caregiver now, full-time caregiver, whereas before I was just handling, you know, the home front. And so moving into that role, I was not taking care of myself. You know,
Mm.
caregivers tend to do everything to take care of everybody else, and they forget that even on the airplane, they tell you to put the oxygen on yourself first, and
Right.
then you put it on your kids. And so, fast forward through that 8 months, 9 months of me, you know, being a full time caregiver, then I realized that, okay, I look around in my closet and I still had hospital bags packed from almost, you know, a year later, because I
Wow.
was, you know, so guarded and ready to go, didn't know we were going to have to go back, you know, this type of thing. And so I'm sitting in my closet, literally crying out to God. And I'm just like at this state of disparity, this state, even the thoughts of suicide, you know, because I was so bogged down with all of these emotions that I hadn't dealt with. You know, because I hadn't dealt with the fear. I hadn't dealt with now, you know, how we're going to pay for things. I'm a caregiver. I have, you know, 5 kids, you know, all these different things. And then I'm sitting in the closet in utterly mess. Everything was everywhere. And that's where I used to go hide from my kids and my in-laws. So I would hide in my closet where I'm there. And that's when God's the people, but to heal you and yours first. And I'm looking around
Mm.
like I heard it just as clear as day. And I'm looking around like, really? You want me to heal somebody? I can barely get out of bed, let alone brush my teeth every day. You know, so I'm like, how you want me to
Wow.
heal somebody? So during that, I took that message and I literally said, okay, God, I'm gonna heal us. I didn't know exactly what that
Mm.
meant. So I really realized at first it was in my closet, the mess that I was living in. But I went
Mm.
to look up what it meant to have a cluttered closet. And see, mind you, my common areas, my kitchen, my living room, the places that people who stop by unannounced can see, oh, those are put together. But that closet, oh, baby,
Yes.
it's a third world country in there, right? It's a whole little family
Yes,
living
ma'am.
in there. Well,
Yes.
I read that that is a sign of trauma. That is a sign of pain. That is a sign of padding. And so that's
Wow.
why that area is cluttered when the common areas are clean. So then in that moment, that's when I realized that the correlation between what's going on in your interior and what's going on in your interior and how they go together. And so from that moment on, I decided to go full force into my own healing, but holistically, doing it not just making it look pretty, but to go from the rooty to the tooty, everything. I looked at everything objectively. I looked at things that, even organization systems that I thought worked for us that no longer worked. I took every part of our house and I assessed it and I broke it down to see what no longer served us. And I got rid of it. Routines, habits, I got rid of it. And so that is what it means to me to live holistically, to holistically design your home and your life. Is about looking at every area of your life and how everything is interconnected. One feeds into the other.
Wow, that is amazing. Whew, what a testimony you have. Oh my God. I don't, you know what? People say you don't want to walk in your shoes or they don't know your story. So don't just judge you by what they see now. Because see, what
Yeah.
I see now in you is beauty. It's nothing but beauty. You got it all together. You are a boss. You doing your thing. And sitting here listening to your story is like, my
Yeah.
God, you went through that to get where you are now. You
Yes.
became
Exactly.
instead of becoming a participator, you became a spectator in your, as you say, your holistic overall, and you
Yes.
began
In
to
my own life.
spectate and look.
Yes, I had to come out of myself and look at it objectively. I had to come out of it and look at it with a different set of eyes, for me to really see what was no longer working. And I also had to come to grasp, excuse me, with the idea of what society says things should be, or my house should function like this, or it should look like this. And I had to determine what works for me, because at that
Yes.
time I tried minimalism for a minute and I learned that
Ooh.
that don't work for me. Maximalism doesn't work for me. I'm in the middle. It's like I don't need a little bit of stuff. I don't need a lot of stuff, but I need a little at middle. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, I had to apply that concept to every aspect of my life, because society will tell you that you need to be on this track, or things should look this way, or this is how you should do things. And I had to learn for me what works for me and what works for my family.
And that's amazing because when I began to research you, you had a quote on your Instagram page. And if you don't mind, I might quote it incorrectly, but it's going to be close to what you were saying. And the
Okay.
quote was, you said something similar about when did you realize? Well, my question was, when did you realize that you did not need to listen to the outside world? Because your quote was something about stop listening to the outside world and don't let the outside world dictate to you about you. Do you remember
Mhm.
that quote you put on your Instagram?
I don't, I don't, but
But
that
when I
sounds about
read
right.
it,
Uh-huh.
it was just, oh my God. And I said, I need to ask her, when did you realize that you had to stop listening to the outside world in order for you to get it together and walk the path and the journey that you're walking? You actually answered that question already, but it's amazing how many people that actually listen to the outside world instead of coming to someone like you, because you've been in it, you walked it, and this is what you do for a living. So I
Yes.
say you're an expert at what you do, even though it's always
Oh.
ongoing learning.
Hmm.
But when do you tell someone, when you meet with your clients, do you tell them the first session or the second session of don't listen to the outside world?
um Actually, it's not a particular time, because every client is different. But the main thing that I have to see is, are they ready? Because a
Hmm.
lot of people are not ready to hear what you have to say. A lot of people are not ready to even dig into themselves, because if
Right.
you're not ready to start really learning yourself and going on this journey of soul discovery and self mastery, then you wasting time. You know what I'm saying? So I can't say that to everybody. I can't say stop listening to the outside world when they don't even realize that they ain't listening to themselves. You know what I'm saying? So
Wow,
I
that's
really don't
good.
have a timeline of when I say things, but it's all about the synergy, the energy, and the dialogue that we have, because I can tell pretty, quickly. I use intuition a lot, and I can tell very quickly who is ready to heal and who are still, who's making excuses, and so that is that's a big component of what we do, because interior design, most people only see she's coming here to paint and she's coming here to pick out a pretty sofa. But you just do not realize what you experience going into someone's home to redesign their home, because you have to deal with um emotional issues of people not wanting to get rid of things. They still got Big Mama sofa. You have people who you think they the decision maker, and they can't, pay all the bills and make the decisions about what can be purchased, and you find out, no, mama is the one making these decisions. Daddy hired me, but mama said no. And then you uncover so many different things in terms of people's personalities, and then their lifestyles and their morals when you're going in for interior design. It's almost like a beautician. You sit in the beautician's chair and you find out everything about that person, and vice versa. Interior design is the
Yes.
same. We're uncovering layers, baby.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
You're peeling the onions off. I love it, because at the same time that you're giving them a beautiful home, you're
Yes.
actually giving them a beautiful them as well.
Exactly. And some people are not ready for
That's
that. And so that is, and if I had to say, one of the biggest hurdles that we've had within the holistic realm, or holistic or wellness design, has been that, because so many people just put interior design in a box, and then when they encounter what we offer, it's like, oh, I didn't know that the two went together. Oh, I didn't know this was a thing. Oh, I'm not ready for that. Can you just paint? Can you just pick out a sofa? And that's fine too, because we do. So if you're not ready to peel back those layers of that onion, that's fine too, baby. We can come in here and pick out a sofa for you. But that's fine.
that's funny. How often, when you have that client, especially on the holistic side of getting them together and not putting the paint across the crack, I love it. How often do you meet up and have meetings with them in order to have a one-on-one session?
Well, it just depends on the route that they go. Some people might need. It depends on what's the need. You remember I told you, when we go in the beginning and we kind of like an investigator, we kind of
Right.
determine what is the priority. And then we kind of reverse engineer from there. Just prior client, we went in and it was all about redesigning her living room and her bedroom. But when we got there, we realized that her husband was a hoarder. So I could not touch her bedroom until we went through the process of first identifying where his hoarding tendencies came from, and then second, giving them tangible steps and action steps to help him work through his hoarding tendencies. And then we actually had to go in and declutter and organize their home before we can touch her bedroom and making it pretty, because that was the priority.
Wow.
That was the disharmony between her and her husband. It was not that their room was not decorated. It was the fact that he had these hoarding tendencies, and these hoarding tendencies were spilling over into their marriage, not let alone their home. So we had to, work through those steps first prior to doing anything else in the home.
Oh, wow. You really, really, because it's just spills over to every single thing and every single aspect in one's life. By listening to you right now, I'm listening to you and I'm saying, thinking about my life, right? And I'm like, okay, yeah, I am, because paperwork I keep all the time. When
Mhm.
that stigmatism of when they say you need to keep paperwork at least 10 years, especially with the IRS, just in case,
Yes.
something happens. I
Uh-huh.
do it. I do it. My twin sister be like, "Can you throw it away?" And I'm like, "No, no, no." So now
Well,
we're actually
and that's
decluttering.
actually, that's a trauma response as well, for you actually having loss and abandonment in your life. So that's where it comes from. You don't want to be lost and you don't want to be without. So there's somewhere that at some point in your life you experience some type of abandonment or loss. And so you're keeping and holding on to things that you view as valuable or important because you don't want to ever be caught in that situation to feel abandoned or to be lost or to lose something. Excuse me.
Thank you.
Yes.
Look, I am admiring you more and more and more. And by doing all this, the first thing, one of the things came to my mind was discernment. Your discernment gift is off the charts. Has to be.
Yeah, I have it. That's a gift. That's definitely a gift. I definitely use discernment and my intuition. Everything that's another reason this business is named conscience led, because I lead with a conscience. If it
Oh,
doesn't
wow.
feel right, we don't move, and then also in good conscience, I cannot in good conscience continue to carry on and design for just beauty and aesthetics alone, now knowing what I know when it comes to the correlation between the home and self. I have to share it. I can't sit on it.
That's amazing. I was listening to Miles Monroe. He's passed on, and he made a statement one time in one of his speakings, and he said that every single resource that you have, you need to use it because God wants a good manager. And that's what I hear when you speak. You have taken every single thing, every single aspect in your life, and you're using it for the betterment of not, and we're not even talking about money. We're talking about the betterment of people.
Yes, yes, it's a calling. It's definitely a calling. It's a big vision, and many people don't understand it, and a lot of people may not ever understand it because the vision was not given to them. However, that does not keep me from carrying out the vision. And if I had one takeaway for listeners out there to gain from what I'm saying today is, if you understand that everything is like an ecosystem and it's all interconnected, and you cannot have one without the other. And if you have that understanding that you cannot have a bad day at work and come home and expect Mr. to be all right, it's going to spill over into your home life just as well as your home life. And you had a disagreement with your son last night and you go to work and it not affect you. So if we can understand that everything is interconnected and it's all about creating a harmonious life in every aspect of your life, then that's the goal.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Now, let me ask you this question, because I know we're wrapping it up here in a few minutes, but I'm curious on the area that you're in right now, as far as the holistic, leading by the conscious led design. How do you have the competition, and how do you deal with the competition, or do you even look at the competition? Because one time I had someone tell me, I'm not worried about the doubters. I'm just concerned about one person at a time.
That's interesting that you say that. Because honestly, yes, of course, I do research to see who is in the sector, who's in the wellness space, what they're doing, how they're doing it. That's any business owner, that's the strategy, to see what's being done and see where the gaps are, and you come in and fill the gaps. But honestly, I would have to say that I am in the forefront when it comes to this industry, or excuse me, this part of the industry, because in the next 5 years, wellness design or wellness interior design will be the new age of design. Because COVID showed us very quickly how, when people were forced to stay within the home, and people were working from home, now it's like, oh, this open floor plan doesn't work for me because the kids are in here and I'm trying to work on my meeting, doesn't work anymore. Or, oh, I don't like going to the office, I like staying at home, but now that I'm at home, my home does not work for me. Well, that's all about holistic and wellness design. You're thinking
Oh, wow.
about other things that's interfering with your job. And if you're working from home and your home is cluttered, or you don't have a proper workspace, that is an issue. So you think about, from 5 years from now, more people are some people like to say woke. People are waking up. People are more cognitive of their space. They're more, thinking about what they're putting in their bodies. They're thinking about what they're putting on their bodies. I've been there, done that, need to write a book about it. I've been talking this thing for, since 2010, and so I'm not new to it. I'm true to it. So when it comes to competition, I don't look at it as competition because I am a thought leader and I'm a subject matter expert. So eventually they'll come to me for guidance, and I'll be there.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Look, you have me sold. I'm saying to myself, when can I book you and put you on my schedule so you can come and declutter and don't paint over my cracks? Because, everybody has cracks. And like you said, we as people sometimes don't want to deal with let's get whole, let's get real with ourselves. Because even when our producer, Kevin Hotwood, brought the intellectual hustle podcast to me, I'm like, okay, intellectually, when as a people, we do think intellectually, but we don't want to get up and move. And in your story, it was so moving to me because you say, okay, I've heard you. Let me get up and let me get this done. So
Yes.
what pushes, what would you give to a person to tell them this is your push in order to continue on the path that you're going?
You saying what would I give them?
Yes. What advice would you say that you would give a person that has gotten decluttered? They got it, but they just don't have that push. They don't have that support because you give great support. And I don't even know you, but I know you do.
That's a big one because it's not just one particular answer. I would say they would have to really seek out what it is that they desire and write it down and make it plain, make the vision plain. If it's not written, it's not done. And then actually, when they're coming to this of writing down what it is that they desire, they need to be true to themselves. And what I mean by that is so many times we act on goals or we set goals or we go after certain things in life based off of what people think we should do, or someone says, you will be a good massage therapist. Maybe you should go into this. And a lot of us get trapped like that in career situations and relationships just based off of what seems right or what someone else says you will do well in. And so for me, that was the biggest hurdle for me, is really learning to hear my own voice, to hear what it is that I desire, because the world and circumstances and situations, especially in our community, in the Black community, we're raised to be in dysfunction. We're raised to keep going even if we're not content with it, and then we learn to like it. And so that was the issue for me. I mimic a lot of things because that's what I was told or taught to do. And then one day I just realized, like, I really don't believe this. I really don't. This is not my desire. I don't desire to do this, but I desired it because it was what was bred in me. And so for me, that's where the motivation comes from, me really learning who I am. And when I learn who I am, then it's like, I don't want that anymore. That doesn't work. It was easier for me to be motivated on things. And then I could see that once I wrote that vision down, I can see if it did not come within this theme and what I wrote down, I don't need it.
Wow, that's amazing. I agree totally with you because I told someone, I said, this can't be my life, and it's not. It will not be my life. So I totally understand what you're saying. We're going to wrap this interview up. I thank you for coming on. But before we go, I want you to be able to tell the Intellectual Hustler listeners where they can find you, how they can communicate with you, how they can follow you.
Okay, we are on all social media across the board at Conscience, CONSCIENCE, LED, LED Design, and our website is conscienceleddesign.com.
Awesome. Ms. Bridget, again, Thank you so much for bracing us with your intelligence, with your beauty, with your Miss Bossness, and all of the holistic ways. I greatly, greatly appreciate you for being our guest here at the Intellectual Hustle podcast on this day.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you for having me. Thank you. Thank you. It was great.
Thank you. And to all our listeners at the Intellectual Hustle podcast, make sure you follow us. Make sure that you tune in and you tap into Miss Bridget Conscious Led Design, her website, her Instagram page, everything that involves her, because I guarantee you, you will not be the same way you were when you first meet her.
Yes.
Have a wonderful day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yup.
Start recording.
Oh shit. Let me stop.